Hey everybody, welcome back to Video So here we're continuing the series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and the day is here. Well, technically it was 2 days ago. The Neo Geo Pocket Core beta is available from Jotego. Do be aware you need to be a Patreon member at this current juncture if you want to play Neo Geo Pocket, but it is here, it is working, it's definitely not done, but it is exciting to have it. Before I get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this has been on Jotego's work list for a long time, and he just rewrote all of the CPU implementation. We talked about that in the December news episode, but you will see here Neo Geo Pocket is currently functioning on MiSTer FPGA. Do be aware that a lot of times you're going to have to do some settings before you can actually get into the game. You'll see here on the actual Neo Geo Pocket operating system, you do need to go through that at least once before you're going to be able to boot into anything. But once you get through that, you're going to be able to actually enjoy some games. Now this is a beta, and do be aware that it is only Neo Geo Pocket. Neo Geo Pocket color support is not here yet, and not all of the Neo Geo Pocket games are currently functioning. Some games will give you playthrough all the way to the credits, some games will definitely hang, and others seem to have issues booting in their entirety. So this is definitely still very beta, so don't go in expecting a perfect experience, but that's pretty par for the course with Jotego. He releases beta cores for Patreon members to try out, and then he continues to iterate on them until they are done, and you usually see a public release pretty shortly after that. But taking a look at King of Fighters here on the Neo Geo Pocket, this is one of the games that is booting, is working, and seems to be doing exactly what it should compared to real hardware or software emulation. And I know not many people had a Neo Geo Pocket or Neo Geo Pocket Color back in the day or even now, so it's going to be one of those things maybe you're not going to really see where there are deficiencies in the current core because you might not be super familiar with anything right here. But as we actually get into the gameplay, it does a really good job of looking great even though it is black and white. The ability for the Neo Geo Pocket to push some really good graphics and sprites was definitely punching above its weight, and you can see here in the core everything does look good, and that is exciting to get a new piece of hardware like this on MiSTer, especially one that was not in any way, shape, or form a hit in the United States. Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color weren't the most resounding success in Japan either, but in the US it failed on launch, and you could basically get a Neo Geo Pocket Color with like 3 or 4 cartridges in a blister pack at game stores for like 20 bucks back in the day. I bought one, I played it, I sold it, and I wish I never did because the value would skyrocket on something like that, especially if I had never opened it. But we had no idea back then pretty much what Neo Geo Pocket even was. But as far as the current implementation on MiSTer FPGA, this game seems to be running exactly as you would expect it to. And I do love the contrast between the blackest blacks and the whitest whites in the background. It really does help to give the screen depth even though we're only dealing in black and white here. Mai and Shingo, their colors set them apart from the actual background, where it's going more towards a gray brownish look versus the really contrasty black and white of the playable characters, and that's what Neo Geo Pocket does such a good job on, being able to differentiate everything going on screen artistically even though you're only dealing in a black and white color scape without any of the color. And I know that Neo Geo Pocket Color is on Jotego's roadmap, but getting Neo Geo Pocket running perfectly first is definitely going to be part of that implementation, because while the hardware is similar, it does require different functionality, and I don't know if we're going to see a secondary core for Pocket Color or if it's going to all be in one core in the end. But let's move on to another game that is working, and if I remember I will leave a link in the description below to the compatibility list to tell you what you can currently play on MiSTer and what you can't. But be aware, if you see bugs, if you see issues, that is going to be very expected at this point in time because this core is not done, it's still in beta. But Pocket Tennis is another really fun game that works so well on the actual handheld because of that clicky thumbstick, and here it's working great as well. And if you don't already have one of the 8-bit Do Neo Geo CD controllers, I highly recommend picking one up. It's not just great for the Neo Geo core and the Neo Geo CD core, it's also going to be functionally perfect for the Neo Geo Pocket core because it is replicating what that would do as well. And I will say, for the audio that is here, which is not the most spectacular thing hardware wise, it sounds very good, so go ahead and listen and I'll be right back. It's got that handheld sound charm to it, and it does sound like it's coming out well in the MiSTer FPGA implementation. And what I mean when I say as much sound as you're going to get, it's just that these 8-bit tracks don't have the most depth to them, but they sound great, and it sounds good here on MiSTer FPGA. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, on the games that are working, it just seems to work fine. But don't be surprised if it fails, crashes, freezes, hangs, or does any number of other strange things, because that is the reality of the beta. It is just not done, and Jotego definitely iterates pretty quickly on these cores as well, so I bet we're going to see an update in the next couple weeks or months. And if you want to see update videos as this continues on, leave me a comment down below and tell me. But you get Neo Cherry Masters working as well, which is one of those very strange games that does exist on the hardware. If you want to play some slot machines in black and white on Neo Geo Pocket, you can 100% do that. I don't know who these games were for back in the day. I've always been surprised that gambling video games are popular, because if you win, you get absolutely no money whatsoever. You just win virtually, and if you lose, you're just losing, and I don't understand it. But leave me a comment down below and tell me if you've ever gotten into a gambling video game. I would be very curious to hear, because I've never actually understood them whatsoever. Let's move on to a game that I understand much more, and that's going to be Samurai Showdown. Big thanks to Pixel Cherry Ninja for letting me borrow the next 30 seconds of footage, because I swear these cores always come out on days in which I am super busy. I had to take down the Christmas tree, clean up the whole house, and do a bunch of other life stuff. I wish one core maker would release a core on a day in which I had absolutely nothing to do except stare at the wall. It would help me out immensely. But all jokes aside, again, I just love what Neo Geo Pocket does with black and white. I think it is the best looking black and white system ever made from a retro perspective. You just get so much contrast and so much different graphical effect with only 2 colors, and obviously there's more than 2 colors. It is grayscale, so it's not like it's just either pure black or pure white, but you can see here, even in the logo on the black screen with those snowflakes coming down, it just looks so much fun on the current core. But moving back to King of Fighters again, as far as the gameplay is concerned, big thanks to Andy D for helping with some captures, but I did get a chance late last night to play around with some of this myself, and I would say that the control feels very responsive. Now, I do have a Neo Geo Pocket Color in my desk drawer with a screen mod on it, and it looks absolutely outstanding. But I do think here, getting this in a capture card or on your television is going to be the best looking way to actually play the Neo Geo Pocket games, because as good as my actual handheld looks, the screen is definitely tiny compared to what you can do on MiSTer FPGA. So for a lot of people playing these games, it's going to be like playing it for the first time. And I'm sure a lot of you, it actually is going to be playing it for the first time, and that's the great thing about this core. It was not popular hardware in the US, but there are a lot of fun games to play on here, both on the Neo Geo Pocket as well as color side, and you can definitely check them all out. Now, I am cheating a tiny bit here. This is from an analog pocket capture, but the game is going to function on MiSTer FPGA as well, because I'm going to do a separate video on the Pocket. But there's a lot of fun games, something like soccer here. If you played one soccer game, you're going to understand exactly how it works, but it does work on the core as well. And for all you Europeans, I'm going to call it football once to make you guys happy as well. But let's move back over to King of Fighters, because this seems to be the best functioning game currently, and that is the interesting thing about beta cores. They're not going to be perfect, but you get to see how everything works under the hood, and you get to follow along with the progress, and I know a lot of you guys like that. Now, be aware right now, this is manual install, and it's installing in a very strange way in the MAME folder. Actually, this is not an arcade board, but that's how it currently works. So I'm not quite yet ready to show you how to manually install this, because I'm highly presuming that in the next couple weeks the installation method is going to completely change and all of this would be outdated. If you do want to install this, you have to be a Jotego Patreon member, and he did write out directions as well, but it seems like there might be a little issue in the folder structure on how those directions work on MiSTer FPGA. So I will pin a comment once I get a full answer as to where these files need to go to be fully operational, because Andy D had a little bit of an issue with it, and I was chatting with him about it as well. But if you want to play Neo Geo Pocket, you can do it today if you're a Jotego Patreon member. I'm sure this core is going to undergo a lot of different revisions, and obviously a lot of the games, the Neo Geo Pocket Color games specifically, are not going to currently run. And because there is a Beast Busters game on the color side, I can't wait to get the color implementation, because that's one of my favorite Neo Geo Pocket games of all time. But it's so much fun to get another handheld on MiSTer FPGA. A lot of people have been waiting for this, and once Jotego buttons this up, people are going to be very curious what the next core he's going to deal with is. He does a lot of arcade core drops, but I know he's been thinking about the Capcom CPS 3 as well as the IGS PGM, so I'll be curious to hear what's announced next. But the day is here. Neo Geo Pocket is available in beta, and you can go play it today. Just remember, don't go in expecting perfection. You're going to be a very happy MiSTer FPGA owner. Sure that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.